Evening, everyone. It's 5:32 on this Monday afternoon. This is your closing comment. It is video number 1717 for this Monday afternoon. Okay, a couple of things I want to go over. And the first, of course, is FCNCI. This is the company that ended up with a 16 plus billion discount on the loans and the deposits of SVB. The company is First Citizens Bank Corp, and it had an unbelievable day. This morning, when I mentioned it to you, it was 725 and it was up 143. This is a stock that had come down from about 900 down to 503 based on the same issues that we were having everywhere else. So, as I said, it was 725. When it opened for trading at regular hours, the low for the day was 825, 824.23. The high was 910 and it closed at 895.61. That's up 313.06. That's 54%. So really a home run. And I guess, a $16.2 billion discount on an asset means it works. Novartis, I mentioned this morning on their breast cancer results, and it was 83.59 Friday's close. Traded as high as, well, the close was 90.59, up 6.69 or 8%. PVH had earnings after the close. That's the old Phillips Van Heusen. They beat top line. They beat bottom line. They reaffirmed guidance going forward. It had closed at 73.62. Has now traded up as high as 81.80. Last is 81.20, up 8.44 or 11.6%. So, that's about as retail as it gets. So, a hell of a showing there. The two co-founders, Mr. Green and Zimmer, are stepping down from Lyft, and David Risher, who is an Amazon exec, is coming in to be the CEO there. The stock was down at 960, down 27 for the day after the close when the announcement came. It has since traded up to a new high of the day at 10 and a quarter, although it's only trading 9.96, up 9 cents. But, Uber's been talking about becoming profitable. Personally, they've been talking about it for 5 years, but, but Lyft has definitely fallen off. And Binance, which is a foreign crypto company, is being charged by the SEC with basically the same thing that Coinbase got the Wells notice for last week. But even after the fall in Coinbase, it had closed at 67.83 on Friday, and that was down. Today, it is 60. The low was 60.51, so down about $7 and change. The last on it is 61.96, down 5.87 or 8.6%. And I know that most of you are not going to know this name, but it has been around as long as I have. This was one of the original Nifty 50. This goes back to the 1960s. The name of the company is International Flavors and Fragrances. The symbol is IFF. And this afternoon, they also uh, confirmed guidance for the quarter. The stock is trading 89.62. That's up $5.35 or 6.35%. This company, as late as October, was 150 was earlier than that, 157 in October. It made a low of $81, rallied back up, and on Friday it closed. Excuse me. Friday it closed at 84.27, so it's got a nice little double bottom around that $81 area. And as I said, last is 89.62, up 535, 6.35%. And tomorrow we have McCormick and Walgreens reporting before the open. And then after the close, we have Cal-Maine, the egg company, Lululemon, and MU. So we have a defensive stock, we have a heavily favored and expensive retail stock, and a chip stock. So that ought to be pretty interesting. Okay, so the market was up as high as about 320. It closed up 194, 0.6%. Advanced declines were 3 to 1. Nasdaq actually closed down 55, or just under a 0.5%. And there too, there were more stocks up than down, 3 to 2. So 1.5 to 1, roughly half of what the NYSE was. But the volume was only 4.2 billion, and that is very light. We've been running in the neighborhood of 5.3, 5.4, a couple of days last week, 5. I think Friday was a 4.9 or 4.8 number. So volume was very light. S&P were up 654, which is negligible. They were up about 30. And the two big winners were the Russell, up 1875 or 1.08%, and the big gainer was the transports, and that was up 180.61, 1.32%. The chart on the screen is Bitcoin. And this is doing something that doesn't really surprise me much, but I was surprised to see it come down out of this, although I am long personally BITI calls, which is the inverse. Very often we see this. It's kind of a little diamond pattern where, up, down, on the other side, down, up. And we usually really resolve one way or the other. Well, we always resolve one way or the other. What surprised me, though, was the fact that we had already come back down on Wednesday and closed this gap that we left on the upside, which I thought was very healthy. Then we had an inside day on Thursday. We had an inside day on Friday. And today we were, up a little. The range was 28,225, and the low was 26,530. We closed 26,980. Looks like we're probably going to see a little bit more action on the downside, primarily on the Coinbase and Binance news with the SEC, and CFTC. Oil, terrific day. I mentioned it this morning. We came down, we tested, and we were at the time only about 71 and change, but that was a higher low and a higher high. We really accelerated up there. I think that I mentioned this morning that I thought 72.5, 73.5 was going to be a tough area. We went right through to 73.10 and came back. We closed pretty close to the high, only 20 cents or so off it. 73.10 was the high, and 72.81 the low, so 30 cents off the high. Gold was down $30. Silver was down 20 cents. The bonds were down 2 And, I don't really talk very often about the macro look, the overall look in these markets. But um, I think that the volatility in these markets, and when I say these markets, I mean interest rates, have gotten so volatile that I think that they are in risk of kind of freezing up. You have to realize that after what happened at Silvergate and SVB and a couple of the other uh, banking stocks, that these guys are really sitting on their hands. And when you can get a 20 or 30 basis point move in short rates, that kind of freezes them. I think that that's going to become an issue. I've been talking about the government crowding out small businesses um, because they need to borrow so much money to support our debt and our deficit. And today there was a $42 billion auction of 2 year paper, and it was the worst. Rick Santelli said it was the worst auction he's seen in quite a while. He gave it a D minus. I think that the rate was about 396, 397 in the auction, and immediately after the auction, rates were back over 4%. That may not seem like a lot, but it is, especially for that kind of size. So I'm getting very concerned about that. All right, everyone, I'll be back tomorrow. As I said, we have those earnings, and we also have international trade, which I expect is going to be a deficit, retail inventories, wholesale inventories, housing price index, Case-Shiller. Those are all before the market opens. And after the market has been open a half hour at 10 o'clock, we have consumer confidence. So those are all things that I think we need to be acutely aware of. Have a good evening.